Good evening. Who'd you talk to? What's going on? It is April 26th, 2023. 0426 Not going to do it for the math geeks. Not going to do it. It is legit paranormal news on a Wednesday night. I am not in the studio. I am not dressed with my shirt and tie. I do not have hair on my head. With the recent firings of Don Lemon and I'm blanking on the other guy with the high pitched voice. But upon their firings, I've been hiding in my bunker. Just gonna wait this whole news thing out and see what happens. Hopefully, I don't get clipped. Joining me, my co-host. So let us give this our official kickoff. This is Legit Paranormal News, brought to you by LegitPodcast.com. I am King Michael.
I am Dreamy David Barr, feeling a little naked without my shirt and tie, but here I am.
Maybe that's a good way to feel, David. Now, our top story.
All right, our top story is about something that has fascinated me for a long time. I have not yet experienced this, but I think it's pretty cool. It is called the Psychomantium Chamber. Do you know what that is, Mike? Have you heard of it?
Dave, are you asking me if I've heard of a word that I think that you've made up?
It's not made up.
So no. I'm going to say no.
Okay. So a psychomantium chamber is also known as a mirror gazing room. They've been used for centuries in various cultures. It's a tool for engaging in self-reflection, introspection. It helps you access your unconscious mind, and some people believe it helps you communicate with the dead. The ancient Greeks believed that they could communicate with the spirit world by gazing into reflective surfaces, such as polished metal, water, or glass. So this is based on an ancient practice known as scrying. Now, these chambers, they built them in temples and other sacred sites in ancient Greece. And again, other cultures also did this. And they were used by individuals who were seeking guidance from ancestors or other spirits, or again, communicating with the dead. The word psychomantium is Greek, and it means soul mirror.
Wait a minute now. Let me just stop this for a second.
Okay.
Are there drugs involved with these rituals?
No. So back then, you would kind of just relax, put yourself into a meditative state, and stare into one of these reflective surfaces that was in a private room or chamber in a temple.
Okay. Because I don't know if I don't want to put you on the spot. I don't know if you've ever taken mushrooms or anything like that, hallucinogenics, but
I have not.
The one thing I'll tell you, and that people will tell you, is do not look in the mirror. You know what I mean? Do not look in the mirror. That's the one place you can't look. It just doesn't even make sense. It's
Audra, how are you? Actually, is it Brian Bodine? He's a local comic. He does a whole skit about taking mushrooms and talking to the man in the mirror.
That might not be a skit. It might be real. He might have talked to me in the mirror, because I can tell you stories. My God, my friend. Not that I know, but I'm just saying I could tell you stories. I may know stories that are more bizarre than that. But continue. I'm sorry.
All right. So this whole practice was revived and modernized starting in the 19th century. It was revived by spiritualists and mediums. And apparently there's a medium who has a show on Netflix, and he had someone build one of these chambers in his house for his use.
Yeah,
I have not watched that show yet. What's that, Mike?
He did it for shits and giggles. Why not build one in my house? So.
Well, if you're a medium and it's a tool to communicate with the dead, and it's kind of like
and you're on Netflix, I'm saying.
Yeah.
You get the bread to build yourself a mirror room. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, I kind of have like one of those Harry Potter alcoves under a staircase in my house. Probably be a good space for one of these things, but it's full.
I have one on my staircase. I have like a closet, I'll call it. It's got that little, whatever you want to call it, right there. I keep bar supplies and sports memorabilia, and then hunting knives. I don't know why I just wanted to interrupt you to say that, but I felt like I should. Continue, Dave.
Those are all interesting. That's an interesting combination of things to have under your stairs, Mike.
Not for me, but yes.
In the 1970s, Dr. Raymond Moody, he's a psychologist and a researcher in the field of near-death experiences, began experimenting with the modern version of the psychomantium chamber. Try saying that 3 times fast.
Psychomantium. Say it one more time.
Psychomantium chamber.
So psychomantium chamber, psychomantium chamber, psychomantium chamber, psychomantium chamber. David, one smart fellow, he felt smart.
Yeah, you did this to me before on a past
Come on,
show.
we're live though. One smart fellow, he felt
One
smart.
smart fellow, he felt smart.
2 smart fellows, they both felt smart.
2 smart fellows, they both smelt farts.
There you go.
Yeah,
there we go, Dave.
You got me earlier this time.
Again, back to you.
All right. So Dr. Raymond Moody, he takes a room and he puts an armchair in there, and it's facing a large mirror that's at a slight angle. There's dim lighting. They either use like a candle in the corner of the room or a very dim light bulb. And he has a table on there, and he has people put objects that are significant to them personally, whether, if they want some introspection, they bring their own personal items. If they're looking to communicate with someone who's passed on, they would bring pictures and objects that belong to and of that person. So Moody finds that participants who gazed in the mirror, they're able to have these vivid and sometimes transformative experiences, including being able to communicate with their deceased loved ones. I guess if you're in this dimly lit room and you're staring at the mirror and your mind just kind of begins to wander, you start to see things in the mirror.
I gotta be honest. As you're telling me this, I'm looking for the scam for some reason in it, because let me tell you something. I think if that I sat you in a room with mirrors and a dimly lit candle or something, and I had you think about some sort of issue and just stare into the mirrors, I'm guaranteeing after like an hour, Dave, you're gonna come away with like, I thought it through and something happened, and like, yeah, it almost seems like a no-brainer to me that if you sit and you're calm and you think about something that it will appear or it will somehow connect with you. Could be just me. I could be just crazy.
I'm busy minds probably benefit from this thing.
Yes.
And I would imagine it's similar to going in one of those float tanks that a lot of people use.
Never floated.
Yeah, it's like a sensory deprivation chamber, and you're just kind of sitting there floating in salt water, and it's pretty quiet. I've had some friends tell me it's pretty cool. Again, I haven't been able to experience something like that yet myself.
You ever have a CAT scan of your skull where they lay down and they put 2 pillows here so you can't move your head, and then they put a cage. It's like a cage that locks on your face, and there's like all these like lines, like literally like a cage, and then they have clamp your arms down, and you have to go underneath and inside that tube thing, and you stay there for 35 minutes. You can't move at all, and the whole time it's going and scan your head, and they let you listen to music. And like I usually pick one time I got lucky, I got Metallica, but 35 minutes of doing just that, right?
Yeah,
put your brain, and I would love to hear other people's opinions on this. You just start thinking at a different level. It's like, because if you stay within yourself in that tube, you'd go nuts. You go crazy. So you have to just like literally like be like cool with where you are and let that go. I can't explain it. It's very peaceful in a weird way for someone like me, because that's actually calm. But for like, I remember my mom hated it. Like for someone like that, it was terrifying.
Yeah, some people can't stand going in that thing.
Basically, the meditation, your eyes open, letting your eyes go hazy and unfocused.
Audra's telling us that scrying is very difficult.
But
discipline.
But it sounds like that's what I do all the time. She just wrote that, like, letting your eyes open and then let them go hazy and unfocused. That's most of my conversations. So maybe I'm scrying on the like down on the down low while I'm actually having a convo. See how I rhymed that, Dave?
Yeah, I do. You should be on a Corona commercial with Snoop Dogg.
No. I wouldn't do it. No. I wouldn't do it. No, I wouldn't. I would do like I want to do the Miller Genuine Draft 40. Yeah, Miller Genuine Draft 40. I don't know if they still make Miller Genuine Draft, but man, we had those 40s all the time. So I would back a beer that I drank. And I'd be the first guy to be the sponsor for Natty Light. Back to you, Dave.
There you go. All right. So these psychomantium chambers have become popular with grief counselors and people doing spiritual exploration. Some paranormal investigators have also used these things. Many of the modern chambers follow Moody's design. Some people have added additional features like soundscapes, so having a little movie and music, and people are doing virtual reality environments with these things as well. I'm not sure how that would quite work, but they're.
Have you ever done VR? Have you ever done the VR?
I have.
What do you think of it when you're there?
I don't know. Like I did it quite a number of years ago, and it wasn't really that realistic. It was pretty fun, but
oh no, I mean the Oculus.
No, I haven't used an Oculus. My nephew's got one, but I haven't been able to toy around with it.
I've had one for quite a while, and I rarely use it. But I recently did it. I did a gym class thing. The weird one was going into casinos because there's other people walking around and messing with you. And then when you're at the blackjack table, you can actually hear their voices and talk to them. So I could tell a guy when he was making a shitty bet, stuff like that. It was just the most bizarre thing in the world. And people can look however they want to look. So there were so many people on there that I signed off. Like when I realized how many people were on there, I was like, I'm going to sign off. There's too many people with this thing on their head right now. Like, I mean, I don't know if this is good, but it's really like you feel like you're there. It scans the room for you, maps out where you can go, at first, and then boom, it lights up, and you can do a 360, and it's just perfect. And the boxing game, it's like $10, but it's the greatest workout because you eventually get to the point where you're like, and this guy's like pounding you, different guys are hitting you. Back to you. It's a lot of fun.
Now, so people are using VR to create virtual psychomantium chambers. So I don't know if you see that one for a few bucks, you might want to download it and try it. I don't know.
They're using it more for sex, but yeah, probably for shame. Yeah, unfortunately, but yeah. Back to you.
All right. So again, these chambers, they're designed to create a relaxed and meditative environment to allow individuals to connect with their subconscious mind, get some emotional and psychological insights, and hopefully work towards their well-being. Many of these practitioners believe that the dark, quiet environment helps individuals just reach that state where they can access alternate states of consciousness. So the process of using this thing, it involves you set an intention. You want to meditate a little bit. You want to stare into a mirror or some other kind of reflective surface and just see where your mind takes you. Now, the purpose of these things, again, they're using them in a therapeutic setting to help people with grief and loss. They want to provide a safe and controlled space for people to connect with their deceased loved ones, to find the guidance that they're seeking, maybe gain a new perspective on life. And this can be therapeutic for people who are struggling with grief and trauma, or who just feel like lost and they have no purpose. They want to try to find some kind of meaning.
Can I counter that though?
Sure.
All right. If you're dealing with grief and or loss, or you can't find yourself, a lot of times the person that you're most mad at is yourself. And I would think that having mirrors stare at myself during my grief would be the worst possible thing I could do to myself. The best thing that helped me with grief was to focus my attention on other people and get out of my head. That would be my fear with the mirror thing.
Well, and you're right. And my next thing was that not everybody has a positive experience with this thing.
Here we go. I digress.
So they say you should consult a mental health practitioner, maybe do an official one, with someone like Dr. Moody. And it can be really, really challenging for some people. It can induce anxiety, fear, other negative emotions. Like you were saying, like some people just can't sit there and deal with themselves, or it's not the best way for them to deal with their grief.
Well, some people take the blame for things they can't even control. That's just how some of us are.
Right.
And for someone like that, I would not advise someone like me to sit and I almost consider it wallowing in it, because I like, again, the worst thing I could think of would be to stare at myself in one of those moments. I mean, I guess might be a breakthrough moment where it got good, but there's also that 80% chance, Dave, I might break the mirror. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
might punch the mirror,
Yeah,
which is
exactly.
really, there's a really good chance of that.
Because again, it's not a pleasant experience for everyone. And who knows what it's going to trigger, especially when you're dealing with trauma and grief and those kinds of things. There are some cultures. Oh, hang on. What are your
Now, see,
thoughts?
Audra, I'm going to read this really quick, and I'm going to answer you real quick. What are your thoughts of claims that if you looked at yourself in a mirror for too long, your reflection will morph into a demon, that of a demon? I've heard this is a common experience with minor scrying. I'm going to take the vocabulary word scrying out of that. You and David could have that word between the two of you. I think if you stare at yourself long enough in a mirror, you will see whatever it is you want to see. There's certain things that's what this whole room thing is got me going about. It's like, I'm not saying it's a trick. I'm saying that I feel like if you stare into a mirror long enough, will your face seem different? I think yes. I really think I think people always forget like how strong their minds are, or
And our imaginations.
in our imagine just what we can do. And if you stare at yourself long enough, or you let yourself just go in a mirror for that long, there's so much. I mean, maybe other people's brains work, which I say all the time. I wish I had the brain of a dog. Like, I wish I could just not be thinking of a million things at once. Would be great. But like, for people like that, looking in a mirror might be like a fun house, but not fun, but a fun house, but not fun. That makes sense.
So Audra kind of hit the last point that I was going to make. I know one of my shamanism teachers said if you wake up in the middle of the night and like you're going to the bathroom and then you go wash your hands to in the mirror, open up some kind of that mirrors or portals. You can open a portal to something. Some people say if you stare in the mirror when you're half asleep, your subconscious is open, your energy is open, and it can lead to some kind of spiritual possession. I'm not saying that that's a belief of mine. It's just a cultural thing that's been passed on. So Audra was right.
Okay.
There are cultures that do believe in that you can be possessed if you're staring at a mirror. You're opening yourself up for
this
that.
goes back to Bloody Mary. This goes back to all those things. You look in the mirror long enough, you say these words.
There's a lot of urban legends.
Candyman, Beetlejuice. Fly out in Beetlejuice. That's my favorite, the Lil Wayne part. When he starts to talk about he's like, I got summer hating on me because I'm hotter than the sun. Got spring hating on me because I ain't never sprung. Got winter hating on me because I'm colder than y'all. And I will never fall. I'm being hated by all the seasons. So fuck y'all for hating for no reason. Now, I love that, but what I don't like about it is he flipped the seasons. It doesn't go winter, fall. But Lil Wayne, I'll let that go. Dave, I'm sorry.
No, that's cool. Like, it's a tool for people to use. For some people it works. For some people it's a positive experience. Some people it's a negative experience. I would imagine that there are some people that just sit there and also don't experience anything, and they're like, what the hell am I doing staring at this mirror in a room for an hour?
Dave, can I just address this right here?
Depends on what you suggest.
Audra, we have never met, but I feel like we are completely different people. Now you're saying, I heard you should never have a mirror facing your bed. I'm going to say you're wrong. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. Dave, can I leave it at that?
Yeah, it's your show, so
there you go.
You want to leave it at that? You can.
All right. Let me put it this way. It's bad to have a mirror facing your bed.
Some people in some cultures believe that.
Well, you know what? You know, I hate the fact that I always want to sing like a song by R. Kelly because his songs will answer a lot of these things. Like I want to say, I don't see nothing wrong, but I can't even use him anymore because
Yeah.
I mean,
Actually, Mike, now that you're doing the rapping thing, I watched a crazy video on AI today.
of Eminem,
No, it was Kanye West. Someone trained an AI to rap like Kanye.
they did it with
And so
Eminem.
the guy, and they found a track, and
Yep.
the guy spoke the same flow that Kanye had, and then he fed it to the AI, and you can't even tell it's not Kanye West.
The
And they've done
Eminem,
that with Drake as well. Drake's lawyers have gone after these people and had the videos removed from YouTube and stuff.
the Eminem AI was about cats. They told the computer to do Eminem only rhyming about cats, and it's his voice talking about kittens and all this stuff, and it's weird, and it's like, oh boy, we're dead.
And
No,
Joe Rogan recently got freaked out because they fed his like hours and hours of his voice to an AI and then hours of someone that would potentially be a guest. And the AI created a whole podcast where Joe Rogan and this guy had a conversation, and it never happened. It was all generated by the AI. And Joe Rogan got really freaked out by this when he heard it.
yeah, they're having a big deal with that now with the different speak type thing. Is that in other words, you feed them what information you want, and it writes the whole story for you. So there's all these
Yeah.
college kids that have been putting on YouTube their finished like thesis or whatnot that this program wrote for them. Like there's like it's supposed to write like it was started off with writing emails for businesses, like basic, HR type, the ones you usually get from here from HR.
Yeah.
But this expanded. This is like now that like people like they make a story about a pirate that goes to here and this happens with that, and it's got this guy in and that guy in and go. And it writes the whole thing. And the writing is well trained, it's well versed. We should not let AI be creative. I'm not I fight that all the time. I know that like people like, fancy fonts and all that crap and bullshit zizzle, but I don't think it should be creatively thinking on its own. I think that's where if you want to say it's human or it could become human, you're risking the chance of it already being human if it's allowed to make those type of decisions. And Dave, just really quick, they keep advertising the Weird Al Yankovic story, the movie, and my issue with it is this: it's called Weird, the Al Yankovic story.
No, it's got to be Weird Al. You got to have that together.
Exactly. Whoever wrote like the title they don't consider the product. When you say Weird, the Al Yankovic story, you know how many people go, "Who's Al Yankovic?" But if you would have said Weird, the Weird Al Yankovic story, everybody would know who it was. Sorry.
Here's a fun fact for you, Mike. I actually saw Weird Al perform at Rocky Point on a stage in front of the Flume back in the day.
I performed at Rocky Point outside on a stage like that was built for stuff. And I saw the Beastie Boys with L7. And this is the famous, it was famous for two reasons. Infamous, not in a good way. L7, the bass player, threw at the crowd something that no one should ever throw at a crowd. She's a woman.
Yeah, I get it.
And then during the Beastie Boys, someone tried to stage dive. No one caught him. Broke his neck. Yes. In the middle of the Beastie Boys.
That happened to me at the Rocky Point Palladium. I went to see Sepultura, Helmet, and Ministry, and I went to ride the crowd during Sepultura, and there was an open circle pit behind me, and
oh boy,
and a bunch of frat boys had me.
Oh
and they
boy,
knew there was no one behind me, and they threw me up and back.
Oh,
and I had no idea until my tailbone hit the floor, and I couldn't walk. I had to go to the hospital. They had to shoot me up with muscle relaxants. They said I was lucky I wasn't paralyzed. The Rocky Point Palladium had a very hardwood floor.
Oh, so I digress. But Lupo's, I'll never forget when Korn first hit the stage, and I got to witness people get pushed into the bar. Now you got to understand what the bar is so far away from where the
Oh yeah, I was at that show.
It went to the bar. I saw
Yeah.
people getting slammed into the bar. I've never seen that in my life. I wasn't scared at all because it was just like it wasn't like it was like a fight, a riot that broke out. They were dancing,
Yeah.
but it
I
was
was at that
scary
show.
to see people trying to get a drink getting smashed into. And then secondly, I have staged dived. What word would you like me to use?
Dived, I guess.
Dove. When you know people are gonna catch you, that's the greatest feeling in the world. Because I've had many a run-up starts where I've just jumped in the air like an idiot, and the only problem you got to worry about is protecting your private area. I don't know what that fascination is. I don't know why you would do that. Why you would do that? Why would you do that? It's like punching me in there. Why not just punch me there? And funny story. Is it Cinderella? No, it's She's My Cherry Pie.
Why?
That dude stage dove in Providence at the Strand and got back up on stage without his wallet and stopped the show until he got his wallet back. And you know how many more songs they played, Dave, in Providence? Because he didn't get his wallet back. You're not getting your wallet back from somebody at a Providence show. You don't keep your wallet in your pocket when you stage dive. Where are you?
I got two more quick Lupo stories, and then I guess we gotta get Gene on here.
Gotta get Gene on you. Go ahead.
I saw the Reverend Horton Heat, and he started playing country music. And he goes, "I'm gonna just keep playing country music until someone buys us a round of Jaeger shots." And he wasn't even through the first country music song when the waitress was walking up to the stage with the tray with the Jaeger shots on there.
You know what?
I thought that was pretty hilarious.
I keep playing a clip. I got it up on the website, legitpodcast.com. It's the Two-Headed Monster clip. It's right before we go into one of the songs. But Gentleman Dave, the other guy, Dave, the tall one, was so drunk that, and he now, if people have any idea of this, it was two bands on one stage, right, playing all the different songs, mixing them up, and their band had Dave Lysick, who was a lead singer, right? He was somebody that was going to talk in between songs. That's what he did. We had me and Dave, but I would usually be the person that would talk between songs. Now, in this clip, for some reason, Dave decides he's so drunk, he does no longer have a beer, that he just starts yelling out loud on the mic, "I'm all out of beer. I'm all," like he's strong-arming the crowd. "I'm all out of beer. And when I'm laughing, I remember at the time thinking, what a great way to get a beer. He's going to hold up the show until they bring, and they did. And he's like, "Oh, thank you." It was like in an instant. So yeah, I get it.
All right. My last story real quick. John Bush era Anthrax. They're playing Lupo's. Someone climbs up one of the cement pillars on a little kind of close to the stage, and he just drops backwards and nobody catches him. Everybody moved out of the way. And the guy was so drunk, he just got up immediately and walked away. But Scott Ian stopped the show and said, "Man, that must have sucked. I'm sure that guy's not going to feel good tomorrow." So he climbed all the way up the cement pillar, column, whatever you want to call it, and dropped back. Everybody moved.
Yeah, you know what? You just can't assume people are going to catch you. I'm being serious too. You just can't assume that. Like that's, and the other thing was back in the day, I used to tell the girls, like, move, like don't stand right there, and they would stand right there. And then when you'd see a girl get hit, it's awful. It's like you know what I mean? Like you want to yell at the guy, right? But then it's like, but I just told you to move, so I'm mad at both of you. Like I was just like, I'm mad that it happened. Is how I would feel. But yeah, that's how it went. Now joining us, we don't know from where, and we don't ask. We just let it be. Jet fuel, Gene Broida. Gene, how are you tonight?
I'm
Gene.
doing great, Mike. Dave, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm
Sorry
from
for
the
our
land of don't
tomfoolery.
ask, don't tell.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In
Sorry
the
for our
bazoom
tomfoolery.
of America.
Yes.
The
Yes.
bazoom.
A lot of people
Mike,
being
haircut.
Yes.
Like it.
Thank you, Gene. Let me explain to you really quick. I didn't want to have to comb my hair in a certain way. Like my hair finally started to thin in areas where I was like, oh, let me comb it this way. It looks better. I was like, you know what? Wait a minute. I ain't doing this.
You don't do the
I'm just
comb
shaving.
over.
No,
That's
I'm not
called a
combing anything over. I'm
comb
just
over.
shaving it. Yeah, I don't need that stuff. I don't need anything extra in my life. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to worry about my hair. So it's gone. Over to you,
Well,
Gene.
I like it, especially since the temperatures are warming.
Yes, 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 they are.
Well, pop quiz.
Okay.
What were the common characteristics of the Sri Yantra? Let me see if I can say this. Sri Yantra geoglyph in Oregon and the Nazca lines in the high altitude mountains of Peru. What was
They
the
were
common feature I mentioned
carved-
last week and the
Carved
week
into
before?
the ground.
Right, and something else.
You can only
the
really
main
see them from above.
Yes, from a height, from an altitude. So, as promised, this week we're going on to another phenomenon that can only be really appreciated from a height, and that is crop circles, which in and of itself as a term is a bit of a misnomer because not all crop circles are circles, as you can see right here. And until you see a photograph like this of a crop formation, which is really another accepted term since they aren't all circular, you can see here several features that are distinctive of crop formations. All right. So first of all, for scale, we have two key features here. We have people inside the formation. So most people are 5 to 6 feet tall. And they're not all standing. A lot of them are sitting, which people like to do in crop circles and crop formations. But the other key indicator here are the parallel lines that you see basically mown through the field behind. Well, part of the formation has a couple of these tracks, and then there's more in the distance. These are tractor lines, trammel lines they're called, but that's a British term for tractor, basically. That the trundling of a tractor makes these marks. And so what has happened is that the crop has grown up here, a formation has appeared, and the farmer's gone about his business farming. And so what we have are tractor lines amongst crop circles. But what's handy is that we know that the distance between tractor lines is about 12 feet. So when you look at these images, just keep in mind, if you see tracks, they're about 12 feet apart. Okay, cool.
Quick time out. Hey, quick time out.
Yep, and I'm going to change the image. All
right. Wait. No.
Before I say, the other thing to note here is just how beautifully these formations nestle into the background. In the background, by the way, we have a sacred site. This mound back here is Avaberry.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
Don't move the picture a second.
Don't move
Dave,
the picture? Okay.
Dave, I look at this photo and I think that's how they got there to carve all this stuff up. And that's exactly how they got away. And that's the truck they
on
drove
the trammel lines
with all the tools.
It's not a bad
to
theory.
do all the shrubbery.
Not a bad theory. Not bad theory at all.
It's possible.
Like I think that hurts I think the tractor lines hurt that carving because.
But wait, there's more.
You know what I mean? It shows like getting there and it shows like getting away.
I do. And you've raised a very astute and valid observation. All right. But
that's my first one all year.
There is so much about crop circles. I give hour-long, 2-hour-long presentations on crop circles. Okay. So
to other people,
there is no way that we're going to cover this in 10 or 15 minutes, but we can get a good start. And so here's some key points.
All right, let me get this.
Out of the tens of thousands of crop circles, perhaps hundreds of thousands of crop circles that have been reported. Now, bear in mind, those reported, just like UFOs, are not going to be the same number as those that there actually have been. That number we will probably never know. But we do know those that are reported. And of those that are reported, the vast vast majority appear in this one part of England, the south central part of England. And this happens to be where many, in fact, the majority of sacred sites, so-called sacred sites, we're talking Stonehenge, Avebury, there are tors, which means mountain or hill. There are the white chalk dude on the hillside. All of that stuff is in this central farmland. This is a farming region where you have the crops. So you can't have crop circles without crops. Makes
Quick
sense?
question on Stonehenge.
Go. And we'll get
Stonehenge.
the next image up. Go ahead.
Didn't they how long ago was it that they discovered that the heads were just part of the statues and that there were bodies buried underneath? That's not that recent, right? Like those heads at the Stonehenge.
No,
The
you
heads
think-
are at
you-
Easter Islands.
Yeah,
All right,
Easter
I'm
Island.
sorry. Then. I'm sorry, Easter Island.
I
Easter
believe.
Island heads. How long ago was it they learned that those had bodies, statue bodies? on the ground?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but I think that's been within the last year or two.
Yeah, I think that's fairly recent.
That was creepy to me when they found that out.
That was creepy.
They were like,
actually.
they're not just heads, by the way. We figured
But
out.
let's digress. Let's go
That's
on
about-
to
All
crop
right, I'm sorry,
circles.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
crop circles.
Creepy.
In science, basically, and I'm a scientist, bottom line, in science, scientists believe things are either true or false. All right. So when we talk about crop circles, are they real or are they hoaxed? Okay. So on the side of hoaxing, we have these two gentlemen, Dave Chorley and Doug somebody, who claimed, and these are elderly gentlemen, okay, they claimed drinking in a pub in England where reporters were present. One has to wonder why reporters were present there, but they were. They claimed drunkenly and loudly that they were responsible for creating all the crop circles in England.
Wow. That's a pretty big claim.
That's a big claim.
I've never claimed that.
And quite honestly, it's patently false. Okay. So how do we know this? How do we know when a claim is true, when a claim is patently false?
Well, I'm going to say it's
Let's
because
take a look.
they look too
I
old.
think
to
I
have
know
done
the
it.
answer, Gene.
Go ahead, Dave.
So on the faked ones, it's just the grass or the wheat is kind of smushed down. But on the real ones, something has happened that's actually changed the vegetation. Like there's some kind of like burning or it's like cooked somehow. Something
Cool.
has happened.
Yep, and you are correct, and we will get
Okay.
to that. But the first clue that something is hoaxed, that a crop formation is hoaxed, is how rudimentary it will appear. Okay, so this is hoaxed. This is human, and by hoaxed I mean simply human made.
Listen,
All right, human
wanna-
made.
first of all,
And here's another example of human made. Okay, pretty
are you
obviously.
sure?
You know, hey Ann, I love you. love you lots.
Pretty decent lines on the heart.
Ah,
I'll give
I
you
know,
guys
right?
credit on
okay,
that.
so compare that to, let me find a good one. Let me find a classic.
A vintage.
Actually, I do like these views a lot.
All right, you pull them up, I'll pull them up.
I like these because they show it. It was quite a bit of time into my research that I began to see images like this. And all of these images, by the way, I'm using with permission from the Temporary Temples website in the UK, which we'll be visiting if we have time, either this week or possibly next week if we bleed over. But here's another formation. Look at the scale. Just look at the scale. And yes, might be hoaxed because I do have a video of crop circle makers making a time-lapse video of their work. So in 5 hours, they could do something on a group of a dozen people could do something on this scale. But let's see what else we got here. Oops,
Yep.
I don't want to go there. No, we're not going.
Why do we
Here's a
associate?
nice one. Here's a beautiful one.
Mm.
Part of the reason that we think that these would be difficult to hoax in some cases, we see the crops are laid down in different directions. They're actually whorled, which means spun by some force. They're spun, braided, twisted, and sometimes for miles. It's the kind of engineering that a person could do, perhaps, but not in the amount of time typically that we think of. And so here in the very center, we have whorling going on a certain direction, and you get these differences in coloration around the central star, lighter and darker, because of the way the grain has been laid down. It's very complex, very complex. I'm not saying humans couldn't do it. I'm not saying that at all.
Yep.
Here's one from France. From France. It was reported June 13th, 2019. It's enormous, and it appears to be astronomical. So now we're getting into some of the themes. We've seen some pictorial. We have astronomical in crop circles that are adjudged to be real rather than hoaxed. And who's doing the judging? Crop circle investigators. All right.
Can I ask a question?
And here's the view from an airplane. I think this is pretty cool. Go ahead.
Oh, well, it is.
Go ahead.
So why is it that when a crop circle is more symmetric than anything else, we associate that with more likely being an alien? Like the more perfect it looks, the more because when it's all gaffed looking, I mean, obviously it looks like somebody was just out there with their mower and they lost control of the mower. But in my messed up head, I always think they would leave probably messy lines to cover their tracks. They wouldn't leave such perfectly designed tracks that point to, the North Star and stuff like that. But yet they always leave perfectly symmetrical, beautiful designs. Like, so there's more to it.
One school of thought is that the origin of crop circles is extraterrestrial. There are several schools of thought about this, but one is that they are extraterrestrial, and the thinking is that these beings are so advanced that, similar to the Nazca lines or the Oregon Sri Yantra, precision is their game. They do precision,
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with that. I'm just saying.
Here, so let's talk about, we talked about hoaxing. Dave offered some great insight, in fact, some great insight into how we might judge a crop circle valid or bogus. That was one of my presentations, valid or bogus. Okay, well, here we have some scientists who've gone forth into the crop circle with meters to measure magnetic fields. And there are many researchers who have done this, but Colin,
Farrell.
I'm going to botch his last name, so I don't want to botch it. One guy was prominent in this field, and these are his images. Okay, these are from Colin. What's his name? I apologize. And so you can see there is correlation. If you look at the actual pattern on the left and magnetic traces on the right, we see some similarities. We see basically hot spots. The way you read this, by the way, we have a temperature gauge down the middle. White is white hot, top of the scale. Blue down at the bottom is cool, baby. So yellow is hot, red is warm, pink is warm, and then we get into the cooler colors. So you can see some correlation here, some definite correlation between the circles, the corner circles in the lighter color as versus say the central circle. That central circle apparently has no heat trace or actually magnetism. This is not heat, this is magnetism. I have to remind myself because other people are measuring heat and stuff like that. So this is compelling, but it's not conclusive, is what I would say as a scientist, right? This is we're building a case, but we're not quite there yet. Well, let's take another look at another phenomenon. This is something Dave mentioned. I love hanging out with people who have a clue, by the way.
Didn't it look like the magnetic field was the metal
awesome.
would have been to make the
okay,
design?
Check this out. See what you think of this. So one characteristic of crop circles and formations that are deemed to be legitimate is that they seem to have been bent rather than broken. The stalks of the cereal grain have been bent rather than broken, and they have been bent because they were heated as if by microwave energy, as if by, all right, that's the operative phrase, as if by, as if now think about what happens to unpopped corn when you put it into a microwave. It heats, as it heats, the kernel expands because water inside it heats to boiling until finally it boils over and bursts the kernel of corn open inside out. That's how popcorn works, in case you didn't know. So what we're seeing is a similar effect here with these blown nodes. Node, N-O-D-E. That's the part of a stalk of cereal grain that is a joint. It's similar, it's analogous to a joint in the human body where fingers bend, where knees bend. This is where the stalk bends. And at the bends, it gets the bends, as it were. It's looking distorted. This is not natural. This is not anywhere near normal. It shows normal on the left. We have bent in the middle, and then full blown, where you have a little cavity blown away. Actually, that's significant force, shall we say. Some force has been applied here. And somebody said, well, some debunker said, well, you could carry a microwave around the field. You could heat these things and make it do that. You could, but not to the extent of the phenomena that we actually see in the actual crop circle. I just think it's highly unlikely that could ever happen.
Two quick things on that. One, the first one was a regular leg. Second one was bent. Second was hyperextended. That's how I kind of seen it. But my only thing on this would be, you guys have bamboo growing up where you lived? Not bamboo, but there were the stalks that looked like bamboo in the North Province area. Dave, you have them growing up in your area?
I've seen them.
All right. So I live where there's tons of woods, and we had bushes of those things. Now, those things would bend a lot from storms. Like a rainstorm would bend them. They remind me very much of those. Now, I'm not saying that heat didn't do those. I'm just saying that the way that they bend, if you've ever been around those stalks, especially when they start to get a little dry, if they go from green to a little bit more brown in our area, then they bend incredibly. And they're just like those stalks. But
they don't explode.
Not that I know of. I've never seen one explode. No.
They don't explode. Okay.
No, not seen one. At least not yet. We'll have them in the wood.
Along the same line, we have, where did it go? I have so many images ready, but
I believe
we saw that one already. Let's see here. Find it. I hope. Maybe not.
I like the clicking sound, to be honest.
Do you?
Yes. Good.
I aim to please. Okay, here it is. Yeah, here it is. All right.
Give it to me. I'll give it to you.
We might wrap up with this one.
There we go. Coming up.
All right.
On deck. Here it comes. Coming up. On deck.
Although, frankly, we ought to see a couple of more iconic images. Okay, here's another reason why those bent stock, why your bent stock theory, after all, wind and water flooding can bend cereal stalks also. There are other forces in nature that we know about that can bend cereal stalks, right?
Like Dave.
But none that we know that can explode the joints. And in this case, what we're looking at here, it's a little hard to see, but basically these stalks are bent over, but they're still growing. The crop is not destroyed. It's not dead. It's still alive. And that's peculiar if we are thinking that this area was exposed to intense microwave-like energy, extreme heating. Why wouldn't everything be dead? But it's not. So that's a weird thing.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Dave?
There's a bunch of weird things about
I'd
crop
say that's
circles.
pretty weird.
A bunch.
Like Gene said, you'd think if it got hit with microwaves, it would just be completely fried and it wouldn't want to grow anymore. So yeah, I'd say that's pretty weird too.
And look at the complexity of this this is probably the center of a circular formation. Here you can see this braiding that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Look at the detail on the central tuft. Then there's basically a bare spot where the grass has been, or the grain has been bent away from that. It's not, I don't think anything's been removed. It's just been bent away to create this illusion of, well, not an illusion, it's obviously bare, but there's twisting and this so-called braiding. I have other pictures that show this braiding, and sometimes the braiding stretches lengthwise underneath the rest of the laid down crop in a circular pattern. So you have a straight line running underneath laid down grain that's running sometimes in one direction, sometimes in the other. In other words, clockwise, counterclockwise. They make rings that rings within rings, as it were. It's almost biblical at that
So
point.
a quick question. If a tornado touched down, would it make a similar mark?
I doubt it.
Spin everything around it?
Tornadoes are known for destruction rather than aesthetics.
But on the ground, when they touch, they jump.
I don't know the answer to that.
They tornadoes
I
sometimes.
doubt it. I just think a tornado is very sloppy, but I don't know. And it's an interesting question, and it would be an interesting side by side to see
the tail, because the tail.
And again, it's going to be the distance from the tornado. Anything directly under the tornado is going to be ripped out of the earth, very likely. But once you get far enough away from that force of the wind,
well, can you zoom back on this? You're
going to see other effects, right?
Yeah, but can you zoom back on this?
What do you mean?
Can we see what's around it? Because what if it is
no, this is this image. This is the entirety of this.
I'm over here thinking if you pull back, maybe you might see some, people looking for the houses.
I got no pullback here. But I do have this video that I promised you if we have time for one more thing. It's pretty awesome.
Of course you do. But
it's
Dave,
short.
Does my tornado theory make any sense to you, Dave?
You got to see this.
I can see why you would think that, Mike. I think I'm with Gene, though, that they would rip more stuff out of the ground.
Okay, prepare to be amazed. If I can get this to go. Here we go. Make this big. Okay, let's look at the title. UFOs making crop circle formation clip. It's Oliver's Castle. That's supposed to be an apostrophe in there. Oliver's Castle in Wiltshire. That's a county in England, in that part of England with all the pins in it, right? And this is from August 11th, 1996. So the story is that some guy was out there looking for crop circles being made, basically, and he captured this as he was basically lying in wait with a camera for such a thing to happen. People do lie in wait for such things to happen. This guy claimed he got lucky. See what you think. We have these two orbs circling around this field of crops. Circling. They're up here. They're kind of, there comes one across there. And I'll get my cursor out of the way so you can just watch. Okay, now the formation is appearing. And there's the orbs. And you can see crop circle appearing under the orbs. As if by magic. And they're flying around, having a great time. So this is a sensational clip. I'll show it again because it's short. And then we'll open the floor.
Are those walls?
Let's see. How do I get this to go? This is an open field. Can I get this to go? Yeah, maybe I can't. Maybe it's done. Tell you what we can do is sort of just go through it. Okay, so here's where the orbs are central left.
Gene, in the middle of the box. Gene, in the middle of that whole box.
And that's probably Oliver's Castle.
No.
On the horizon, that would be Oliver's Castle itself.
All right.
These are the grounds or the area around it. Go ahead.
Gene, there's a triangle in the middle of this video. It's the middle icon. If you hit that, it'll replay the video. See it in the middle? In the middle of your whole video, there's a triangle. See it? There's three icons. It's the middle one. There it is. The middle one.
Oh, it's covered with my share thing.
Hit the middle one.
I can't see which is the middle one. There we go. Okay. Oh, that was at the end. Thanks for helping with that.
No worries.
Here we go. Okay, so you can see here's stuff appearing.
Yeah.
It's appearing, people. We're going to watch that again. I've watched this several times. What the heck? And so, of course, there's raging debate. Did that dude hoax this video? Because we know any video can be hoaxed. He says it was. Of course, he says it wasn't.
You would have to time lapse the video and then edit over the dot over the orbs.
The other video I have, which I will not present this evening, is the crop circle makers doing their time lapse in 5 hours and some extra minutes. In just over 5 hours, they did a complex circle with geometric precision as an art project. And remember last week with the Sri Yantra talked about that might have been an art project too. Uh-oh, how am I going to get rid of this? There we go. So There's so much more. So much. They're enormous. They're ginormous. They're mysterious. They're non-threatening. It's weird. I talk about UFOs to people. They sometimes their sphincters clench. They just can't handle that as a concept. But crop circles, they're non-threatening.
Dave, you notice how Jean is getting a little more R-rated as she's continued her conversation? She's now at you muted yourself, Dave. You muted yourself. But we're now at sphincter.
I'm okay with that.
Sphincter is good English, my friend.
What do we get here? Whoa.
Good English.
Whoa. All right, Audra. Just because I've been giving you a hard time all night.
Hi, Audra.
I would say that Joey Lawrence would spell that W-H-O-A. Whoa. Whoa. And Freaky, how did crop circles form so quickly? I would have thought it would take longer. That's why my brain went to that video would have to be slowed down dramatically with the lights put over it.
Plus, that video is from what, 1966, you said, Gene?
Yes.
It's a lot harder to fake things back then than it was very time consuming.
It was. And to answer a point that Mike brought up earlier, a really excellent point, that supposing that these crop circles are faked or hoaxed, the hoaxers can easily come in and hide their tracks on the tramway lines. Yes, they could. But there are some crop circles that have been discovered in places where there are no such tramway lines, or the tramway lines came after the formation because the farmer went out to do his business. And by the way, just as the last comment, the farmers typically regard these crop formations as a nuisance and crop damage. And there have been farmers who have filed insurance claims trying to get damage relief, as in the form of money, from crop circles, whether they came from humans or otherwise.
Do they get denied?
I don't think they've been very successful.
Yeah, they consider that like
another really interesting. You could write a whole book on that.
It's the whole act of God thing. That's how insurance companies get on it.
Yeah, but if they're man-made, human-made, then it's not an act of God. It's
true. That's true.
Two things. One, once you involve insurance companies, I immediately back up and think everything's fixed. Two, insurance companies now won't cover you for anything as far as house stuff.
Well, they're paying out through the nose for every darn catastrophe that happens.
Yeah, they don't want to. They don't want to pay for like natural disasters and stuff like that anymore. They're like
not too bad.
Separating wind, like rain and all this stuff. No. There's been some real new. You watch.
Well, they won't pay for acts of God, so-called, which is an interesting phrase in an insurance policy in the first place. Act of God, really.
Well, no, that's weird because
just saying.
Again, you can't.
I'm not anti-God by any means.
No.
Thinking that we're attributing certain actions to a disembodied deity.
Gene, I'm with you 100%. See, I believe in God, but I would not believe in God on the phone call with my insurance.
I would be the word nature.
I would be nature. What do you mean?
I could go with
God?
that.
I don't believe in God. I would say whatever it took to get my insurance to cover my house. Dave, wouldn't you?
I would ask them to prove that God exists and that he committed the act, right?
Yeah. With Aristotelian reasoning.
Where's the proof?
Get me an address where I can send him the bill, and then we'll call it his fault.
Right.
If not, fix my house. I'm sorry. That's what I think. Gene, is that all you got?
That's all I got for now. I got so much more, but I'm containing myself. I have so many pictures of crop circles. I weep, but
I believe
and we could look at crop circles all night. I've done presentations that were just basically bathing in crop circle images. There are literally tens. Oh, you know what I did want to do? I lied. There's one more thing I do want to share. And that is with a shout out to Temporary Temples right here. I'll make it quick. So what's going on these days with crop circles? Inquiring minds want to know.
There it is.
Wow. And you can go to temporarytemples.co.uk. They're over in Britain, across the big pond. Cool. So they have it all going on here. This is the bomb. This is the end of the end of the end. Okay, so, and everything is organized so nicely. But I just wanted to show you this one right here. Here we've got the tramway lines, for scale. This is huge. These are huge. We've got the central vortex, basically. This almost looks, well, it's hard to see with the tremor lines through it. And you know, the farmer's like, art smart. I need to plow. I need to do my thing, right?
Gene,
I need to go
these
check
are
my crop.
these are like fairly new crop circles,
Yeah.
then, right?
So this one
You
was
don't really
reported
hear about them anymore.
14th
And
July, 14th July last year. Okay.
so, but we don't really hear about these things as much as we used to. And you'd think with all the UFO or supposedly UFO or UAP activity that there would be more attention drawn to these new crop circles.
You would think.
But these aren't that new. These are so last year. These things, when you start to look at this anthology here of images, you will be amazed at how many crop circles there are reported. And these people at temporary temples have a plane, and they go around flying around and take these excellent, excellent aerial shots. And so once you start to read a few of these descriptions about crop circles, you start to get into the lingo and the mindset, okay? So there's a reporting date. In this case, it was July 14th, as we said before, last year. Then we want to know what kind of cereal is it in. Is it in wheat? Is it in barley? Is it in grapeseed? There are these common cereal grains that I'd never heard of before, but some of them, but we all know wheat. So this is in wheat. It's about 200 feet in diameter.
Okay. There's no way that I would want to go to the geometry gallery.
And look at this. This circle has now been cut from the field. The farmer cut it down. Do not visit this field. Thank you.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay
Sorry, I snorted.
here.
Nearby Horton and Bishop's Cannings have a long history of crop circles appearing in their fields. And this circle appeared not far from the home of late crop circle researcher Michael Glickman.
Mikey!
And a little bit more, this formation is a marriage of three circles, but not all as simple as it seems. Most of these circles are based on sacred geometry in some form or another. There is a hidden discontinuity about the design that may indicate a Mobius loop. That's an infinite loop of some kind, or a hidden dimension. Now that, of course, is interpretive. And they're going to post more pictures soon because that's what these people do all day, all night, Marianne. Isn't that awesome?
It is.
Look how complex it really is.
It reminds me of Princess Leia's head. If you were
I
looking at
know.
it from the top down.
I know, right? Totally.
Right down on her head. That's what it looks like.
Totally. Her buns thing.
Yeah. See, now we're at buns, Dave.
Temporary temple,
now we just said buns.
Great people. You can ask for their permission if you'd like to use their images for non-commercial presentations.
Huh? That's awfully
nice. And I
nice.
recommend that you do. They're good people.
That is awfully nice.
And
Gene,
that's it.
Anything else you'd like to say before you wrap up?
Yeah. Unlike Abby Hoffman, don't steal my book. Read my book on Amazon.
Let's get it nice.
Unknown Objects, the top 10 U.S. UFO cases, picking up after World War I and ending with the Phoenix Lights. Some people still remember that. It was cool.
Bang. Dave, what do you get to say to wrap it up?
I got a little link below my name there. These are my friends, Rainey and Raluca. They were my first hypnosis teachers, and we became friends right off the bat. We've stayed in touch over the last 17 years. They're doing some hypnosis experiments with metaphysics. So exploring time, remote viewing, alternate realities, things like that. So I figured people who watch this podcast are interested in that, maybe interested in that kind of stuff. So check out raineyandralu.com/fourth-dimension. They do those weekly. It's like $10 a session. So if it's something you want to have fun with or explore, please go support my friends.
Nice. I'm going to say tomorrow night we have legit paranormal clips. Check out legitpodcast.com or visit blockislandghoststories.com for the 3 events we have coming up this summer. Also, if you want to go to Legit Podcast and click on the King Mike L page, I have Boy, about 70 items of sports memorabilia up for sale. Names like Thurman Thomas, Jerry Rice. There's a lot of stuff up there. Signed baseball bats, Tom Glavine, Randy Johnson. I have a lot for sale. So if you're looking to buy sports memorabilia, you can check out the King Miguel page on the legitpodcastpage.com. All proceeds will go to boat fair, ferry fair, I should say, ferry fair for this summer's trips, because I'm going to be ferrying people back and forth, forth and back, I should say.
So you'll be a fairy.
I'm going to be a fairy. Yeah, I might actually just dress up as a fairy itself. No, forget. I'll wear the leggings with slippers, Uggs, big Uggs that look wrong on me. But you know what? I'll wear like a tank top, so I have all the tattoos, so I look like this like nightmare of a fairy, as I take them on the ferry. And by the way, you can't start drinking until they hit international waters. Like you can't have booze until they get out of the port. I've had that happen to me twice now. Both times I try to get like a Bloody Mary first thing, because if I'm up that early at 8:00 and I'm on a boat, I might as well be drinking. But they make you wait till you hit certain waters. Whatever. All right. So for Jet Fuel Gene Broida, for Dreamy David Barr, it is me, Michael B. King Miguel. This was Legit Paranormal News, brought to you by legitpodcast.com. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again next Wednesday. I promise I will be in a shirt and tie.